So, welcome to the Hiking Viking Philosopher. This is the first video that I've done, or am doing. I am hiking the PCT. I am Viking in that I have Norwegian ancestry, but I am several generations American, and just like philosophy, just the old school stuff, not the traditional school stuff, just, shit I think about, that kind of philosophy. This is the first video after 4 days of hiking. And this is sort of a journal of sorts, but also a review of the things I've experienced in the first 4 days, so that people can kind of watch and hike along, if not vicariously. So the first day was great. I really kind of kept it to myself. I touched the wall. I signed in at the monument, hiked about 9 miles. That was about as far as I could get. I mean, I do have a small overweight problem. I should probably be around 200 pounds to do this, and I'm closer to 220, so I've got to drop a lot of weight, but I think I'm handling that okay. It turns out, in a very weird turn of events, that any back pain, see, I had back pain before this, especially in the lower back, like a pinching in my spine, and I go to a chiropractor to take care of the spine thing. And then there's just, the muscles just can't really hold the forward weight up. I don't know if you can see. Rotund. Anyway, it turns out the backpack balances the front side out. So when I'm wearing the backpack, I'm more comfortable walking than I am just walking without the backpack, which is, to me, just hilarious. It works out so well for the trail, because you'd think I'd be more sore, but I'm in fact less sore at the end of a hiking day than I would be on a normal day working on something like in my backyard. So that's interesting. I really reserved that first day just for me, just for it to be a special experience that I could just be in. And I think that's important for anyone out here hiking, to really do a day, at least one. If you're going to be YouTubing and doing everything else and making it less of a personal experience, then definitely take one day and experience things around you just for yourself. Not even taking pictures, just, making these mental images and snapshots. So getting along to the second day, the first day was great. Hiking. The second day became a set of trials. Especially once I got to Hauser Creek. I don't know if I'll be able to show a map or something. That, if I can, I'll edit it in later, but I don't know. At Hauser Creek, well, let me back up a little bit. In the first 2 days, there is a 20-mile hike. You can get water at 4.4 miles. And you just top it off, and then it's 16 miles to Lake Morena from there. And it's 16 miles, and the last 4 are over this huge. That's probably not that huge to most people, but it's about a 1,500 foot gain in elevation. You got to go up and over this big hump, and then you can get into Lake Morena. And you're doing it, especially if you only did like 10 miles the first day, or 9 like I did, you're doing it at the peak of the sun. And most people are arriving there at that time. I think some people are smarter. They can get through it. Or there's the guys that go super fast, and then they start and they get all the way up to the hump on their first day. I cannot imagine that. I'm glad I did it in 2 sections, but even my section, I was running out of water. I got down to my very last liter and about a quarter and started up over that hump. I ran out of water with about I want to say about half a mile left. And I kind of knew I was okay, but I was doing some interesting brain games. And those types of problems are interesting problems to solve because you need your brain to figure it out. And sometimes your brain is starting to tell you weird things because you don't have enough, water. You're starting to dehydrate. So you can't think straight. Fortunately, I kept myself hydrated enough. I had plenty of electrolytes. I can't stress that enough. Do lots of electrolytes. And I got over it. I got all the way to Lake Morena. There's a small malt shop at the end of that. You hit the park, Morena Lake Park, and then there's a malt shop just about little less than half a mile down the road. It's a quick walk. Best strawberry malt I've ever had in my life. Really good hamburger too. And then in a comedy of errors, I forgot to pack any cash. Don't do that. But I couldn't get in the regular PCT camping site. Well, I was just being honest. I didn't have $5 to pay for the PCT camping site in the Lake Morena area. So I went half a mile farther to where there was a sort of lake flats. It was mostly scrub brush and things and sand. And I'm in a hammock setup, not a traditional tent setup, which is interesting. I'll do a video later on how that hammock setup works, especially without trees, because that's going to be one of the number one questions people ask. How is he hammocking without trees in the desert portion? Well, it's easier than you think if you have the right gear. But I found out something about that setup, and that is loose sand is not a good place to camp with a hammock, especially when you have 30-inch spikes. 30-centimeter spikes, and I would pound them into the ground, and they suspend these poles that then suspend the hammock, and one of them always kept pulling. I did it over and over again. I must have done it 20 times before I found places where those spikes would hold. And at 4 a.m. in the morning, wouldn't you know, I fell about 2 inches. It turns out it had been slowly sagging the whole night, and it fell like 2 inches onto the sand, and I just said, oh, screw it. So I kind of just dozed for another hour, and then I woke up, got packed up, and got on my way. Third day was great. That was some really good hiking. After that last day, I was just happy to have overcome all of those obstacles. And that's here's the philosophy part for you, okay? I think of the trail as a series of problems with solutions. And I've always admired people that can figure out things, that can solve, problems. I think that's the pinnacle of what intellect should represent when you speak of somebody's intellect. I think, like, when you talk about somebody being smart, I think there's two ways of getting there. I think there's people that are smart because they memorize things and they hold all that information in their head, and they're smart because of that. And then I think there are people that are smart because they can figure anything out, and that's high intellect. That's to me like the kind of things that Albert Einstein, and some of the other really good physicists and engineers, and those people have high intellect. They can figure out something just by either looking at it. If it's a machine contraption, they can figure out how it works. They can take it apart. They can put it back together. High intellect, figuring out things, right? So, I think there's joy. I think the joy results from solving a problem, and I think that's what drives, high intellect or smart people to do things, and to really explore anything. And then when it comes to the trail, you have to solve these problems sometimes with your brain doing kooky things. And once you do, there's joy at the end of having solved those solutions, solved those problems. And, the second day was full of those problems, and I had solved them, and I was really happy I'd gotten over that. And it really motivated me into my third day. Third day was great. Did about 10 miles. So the first day was 9, second day was 11. Third day was about 10 miles. 10 miles to a place called Kitchen Creek. Really beautiful little stream running through a valley of sorts. I was about 10 miles short of Mount Laguna. Just really beautiful there. Lots of hummingbirds. I saw a hummingbird moth. I've never seen that before. A lot of flowers and other notables. Washed my feet. Got some clean water. By clean, I mean I got a bunch of water and I was able to filter it. And it was a really good primer for the next day, which was all uphill all the way to Mount Laguna. The fourth day, I gotta say, being all uphill, that had its problems too. But it was much cooler. The weather was much cooler that day, and so I had not worn my sun sleeves or my sun gear. Hopefully I do a series of videos here if I get motivated enough to show you some of the gear I'm taking on this thing. But the fourth day, it was so cool. I didn't wear my sun sleeves, and I kind of sunburned myself. But it's not so bad that it should just tan up, and my skin typically reacts by tanning out of a sunburn, and then it's more resilient to the sun. So I'm hoping that's what goes on. By the very end of that fourth day, I was getting a severe rash in between my legs, so I had to take care of it. I ended up staying where I'm staying right now, where you can see it. It's tiny house. I'll do another video and a review about where I am. But man, this place is a real treat after 40 some odd miles of hiking. I was able to take a shower. I was able to sleep in a bed. There was heat. Just able to relax. I could recharge all my stuff. I'm so happy I stayed here tonight. I can't tell you that. I was able to take, once I got all cleaned up, I was able to put on some extra clothing I'd brought along. And I feel great. I feel great this morning. It's all downhill today, so I think it's going to be a good day. I'm going to start by hitting the cafe here. It opens at 9. It's about 8:44 right now, so I got about 15 minutes. I'll probably head over there very shortly. But other than that, I'm just going to get packed and get ready to go. That's the first 4 days for you people. I hope you enjoy this video. And like they all say, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.
The flowers on the trail side make me happy. and full of glee, while I hiked just for hours on the grand old PCT.